Imagine yourself lying back, letting your eyes grow heavy. The world outside fades, and before you stretches a vast, endless horizon. The air is dry and warm, almost too warm. It tastes faintly of dust. In the distance, a line of tawny dunes ripples like the surface of a slow, silent ocean. Tonight, we will drift, gently, unhurriedly, into the heart of one of the most unforgiving places on Earth, the Gobi Desert. We walk beside the men and women who tended the sturdy camels that carried life across these arid expanses. We'll watch the rise of a man named Temujin, later known as Genghis Khan. We'll wander the half-forgotten routes of the Silk Road, with its vanished cities and quiet secrets. And we'll step quietly into the grand, yet nomadic royal camp of the Mongol elite. We will not hurry. We will move with the same slow rhythm as a camel's sway. As you listen, imagine yourself not merely hearing history, but moving through it, footstep by footstep, feeling the heat, the wind, the sand. So let us begin. The Gobi Desert is not the sort of place that welcomes strangers. It is not lush. It is not forgiving. Stretching across northern China and southern Mongolia, it is a place of extremes, where summer heat can reach beyond what the skin should bear and winter cold can cut through every layer of cloth. For the camel tender, this was home. Morning in the desert begins not with birdsong, but with stillness. At dawn, the horizon glows faintly pink, and the sand holds the night's chill. Your job begins before the sun clears the dunes. You rise slowly, perhaps from a bedroll in a low felt tent. The fabric smells faintly of smoke from last night's fire. The air is dry enough to make your lips crack. The camels wait nearby, huddled together, their tall shapes silhouetted in the half-light. They make soft, guttural sounds, a low rumble, somewhere between a sigh and a groan. You know each one. You know which is prone to wander, which can carry the heaviest loads, and which bites when displeased. You walk among them, feeling the coarse, wiry texture of their fur under your fingertips. Their breath steams faintly in the morning cold. You check the ropes that tether them, worn smooth by the constant pull of leather on hide. A camel tender's first task is simple to describe, but relentless in reality. Keep the animals alive. Keep them ready to travel. In a place where water is scarce, this is no small thing. Water is everything here. The nearest well might be a day's journey or more. You lead the camels toward it, your boots, or perhaps worn leather sandals, sinking into loose sand. The sun rises higher, and the cool air is gone. By midday, the heat presses against you like a heavy hand. The desert wind is constant, whispering across the dunes. Sometimes it rises into a sandstorm, grains stinging your face, finding their way into your eyes, your mouth, the folds of your clothing. The world becomes a blur of tan and gold, and you must trust the camels to follow you even when you cannot see more than a few paces ahead. And then there are predators. Wolves roam the desert margins, lean and quiet. You keep a staff close at hand, or perhaps a bow, not to hunt, for food is too precious to waste on defense, but to frighten, to warn, to make the wolves think twice about circling closer. The camels themselves are your livelihood, your transport, your protection. Without them, the desert would claim you quickly. They can survive longer without water than you, endure heat that would fell a horse, and carry the heavy loads that keep trade and travel alive. Yet they are not gentle. They can be stubborn, even spiteful. Some will simply kneel and refuse to rise, no matter how you pull at the lead rope. Others will lunge suddenly, their long teeth snapping. You learn patience, not as a virtue, but as a necessity. At night, the desert cools swiftly. You tether the camels again, forming a loose circle so they can see one another. The sky opens into an ocean of stars, each one sharp against the blackness. You might lie back in the sand, the day's heat still radiating faintly upward, and listen to the slow breathing of the herd. The rhythm of your life is simple, but not easy. Walk, water, guard, rest, repeat. There is little variation, save for the seasons, which bring their own challenges: blistering heat, biting cold, sudden storms. It was a life that demanded resilience. The Gobi was not a place you conquered. It was a place you endured. And yet, in the quiet moments, there was a kind of beauty. The endless space, the deep silence, the slow, rocking gait of a camel beneath you as you crossed mile after mile of sunlit emptiness. The camel tender knew hardship, yes, but also the strange peace of a life pared down to the essentials. Imagine yourself now moving north, away from the deep sands of the Gobi and into the rolling grasslands of Mongolia. The horizon is still vast, but the land here is gentler, covered in swaying green during the short summer months and swept with snow during the long winter. It is here, in the year 1162, though some say earlier, some later, that a boy named Temujin was born. His people were nomads, moving with the herds, living in round felt tents known as jairs. The wind was a constant companion. Horses were more than animals. They were an extension of the body. Temujin's early life was not a fairy tale. His father, Yasuji, was poisoned by a rival tribe when Temujin was still a child. Without the protection of a strong leader, his family was abandoned by their clan, left to survive alone. The Mongolian steppe is no kinder than the desert. You must be part of a group to survive. And so, the boy learned hunger early. He hunted for small animals. He scavenged. He learned that trust was rare, and that strength came in many forms, not only from muscle, but from the ability to unite others. As he grew, Temujin began to draw followers. Sometimes it was through friendship, sometimes through marriage alliances, sometimes through sheer necessity. People gravitated towards someone who could protect them. The Mongol tribes at this time were often in conflict. Raids were common. Loyalties shifted. Temujin began to understand that unity was the key to power. If he could bring the tribes together under one banner, they could become far more than scattered families competing for grazing land. But unity did not come easily. There were betrayals. Temujin was captured once, bound in a heavy wooden collar. He escaped, with the help of a guard who took pity on him. There were battles, swift, mounted skirmishes on the open steppe. His warriors were skilled riders, loosing arrows even as their horses galloped at full speed. Gradually, he built a reputation not just for his skill in war, but for his discipline. Unlike many leaders of the time, he rewarded loyalty, promoted men based on merit rather than noble birth, and punished theft within his own ranks. This earned him respect and fear. By 1206, he had accomplished what had seemed impossible: the unification of the Mongol tribes. At a great council called a Kuriltai, he was given the title Genghis Khan, meaning universal ruler. From here, his empire would expand far beyond the grasslands, into China, Central Asia, and beyond. His armies would become known for their speed, strategy, and ability to adapt. But in this moment, as the council fires burned low, the newly crowned Genghis Khan sat in the knowledge that his life, S greatest shift had already happened. He had gone from an abandoned child, scraping for food, to the leader of a united people. The journey ahead would be vast and filled with conquest, but it began, like all great stories, with survival, patience, and the slow gathering of strength. And as the steppe wind whispered over the grass that night, it carried with it the quiet certainty that the world was about to change. Imagine yourself now leaving the Mongol steppe, following a caravan that moves like a patient, winding river through the desert. The camels sway in quiet rhythm, their padded feet pressing into the dust. The sun is warm on your shoulders, and ahead stretches the invisible thread that once bound empires together, the Silk Road. The Silk Road was not a single road at all. It was a network of paths, some well-worn, some shifting with the seasons, stretching thousands of miles from the cities of China through Central Asia and into the markets of the Middle East and Europe. Along it flowed silk, of course, light as air, glimmering in the sun when unfurled, but also spices, precious stones, glass, paper, and ideas. Traders carried news, religions, art styles, and inventions as surely as they carried cargo. But the road also kept its secrets. Many are still buried beneath the sands. Somewhere between the oases of Dunhuang and the ruins of ancient Merv, caravans would vanish, swallowed by storms, lost to bandits, or simply gone without explanation. The desert can hide things well. A single windstorm can cover a trail entirely, leaving no sign that hundreds of hooves and feet passed by only days before. Even the cities along the route could disappear. One might be bustling for centuries, its markets full of voices and colors, and then, slowly, be abandoned. The river feeding it might change course. Trade might shift elsewhere. In time, the city would be nothing more than walls half buried, a scattering of pottery shards, and the faint memory of music carried in the wind. Travelers told of hidden towns deep in the desert, their gates sealed, their streets empty but strangely untouched, as if everyone had stepped away only moments before. Historians have long wondered which of these tales were truth and which were shaped in the telling. The Mongol Empire, under Genghis Khan and his successors, brought a rare kind of stability to this vast network. Roads were safer, caravans could move more freely, and goods reached their destinations faster. Yet even then, the Silk Road kept its air of quiet uncertainty. Imagine yourself walking into a caravanserai, a large, enclosed and built along the trade route. The outer walls are thick and sun-baked. Inside, there is shade, the sound of water from a stone fountain, and the mingled scents of camels, cooking fires, and strange spices. You might hear a merchant speaking in Persian to one man, in Turkic to another, and in Mandarin to a third. At night, you lie in the courtyard beneath the stars. Perhaps you've traded a small pouch of salt for a handful of dried figs. Perhaps you've heard a story of a traveler who vanished somewhere to the west. The voices around you fade to murmurs, the air cooling slowly after the heat of day. The Silk Road was many things, a highway of commerce, a bridge between worlds, and a keeper of mysteries that even now have not been fully unraveled. It was a place where the known and the unknown met, where each bend in the trail might lead to a thriving city or to silence. Imagine yourself approaching a vast, rolling plain under a wide, open sky. In the distance, the sunlight catches on something pale and curved, hundreds of white, round tents arranged in a great circle. This is no ordinary encampment. This is the Royal Ordu, the traveling camp of the Mongol elite. Unlike the dusty, wind-swept waste stations of traders or the humble tents of herders, a royal camp was a moving city. At its heart stood the Khan's Great Gur, a structure so large it had to be dismantled and carried by a team of oxen when the camp moved. Its walls were of thick felt, insulated against the chill, its interior lined with rich carpets from Persia, silks from China, and furs from the northern forests. The camp itself was ordered like a map of the Khan's power. Important nobles pitched their tents closest to his, while guards and soldiers formed protective rings further out. Beyond them stretched the livestock pens, horses, sheep, goats, and camels grazing under the watch of herders. Inside the great tent, the air was warm from a central fire, its smoke curling upward through a hole in the roof. The scent of roasting meat mixed with the faint tang of fermented mare's milk, arag, served in carved wooden cups. The Khan might be seated on a raised platform, flanked by advisors and family members, his robes embroidered with golden thread. Here, politics and ceremony intertwined. Decisions of war and peace were made over meals. Messengers arrived with news from distant provinces. Foreign envoys bowed low, offering gifts, jewels, fine textiles, rare animals, in hopes of securing alliances. Feasts were frequent, though not in the way of soft-living courts elsewhere. Platters of boiled mutton were passed around, eaten with sharp knives. Bowls of broth steamed in the cool evening air. Between courses, singers told stories of past victories, accompanied by the gentle plucking of a horsehead fiddle. Outside, life in the camp followed its own rhythm. Blacksmiths mended weapons and stirrups. Leatherworkers stitched saddles. Children raced ponies across the grass. The air was full of sound, the clatter of hooves, the call of herders, the occasional distant laugh carried on the wind. The Mongol royal camp could be on the move at a moment's notice. When the Khan decided to travel, the entire city packed itself into carts and onto pack animals. Within hours, the plain would be empty, save for faint tracks in the grass and the lingering smell of wood smoke. It was a life both grand and transient, rich in comfort and influence, yet forever shifting like the steppe itself. Even at the height of the Mongol Empire's power, the Khan and his court remained wanderers, their home defined not by walls of stone, but by the endless sky above. And so, we leave the Gobi Desert, its sands still warm beneath your feet, the wind still carrying the faint scent of dust and distant rain. We leave behind the camel tenders, with their patient, steady lives, guarding, guiding, enduring. We drift away from the boy named Temujin, who rose from abandonment to unite a people, becoming Genghis Khan. His story stretches far beyond the steppe, yet it began with the simple will to survive. We step softly away from the winding threads of the Silk Road, with its half-buried cities, its bustling caravanserais, and the quiet mysteries that the desert still keeps. And we take one last look at the Mongol royal camp, its great white tents glowing in the sunset, the air filled with the sound of horses, laughter, and the low hum of a fiddle. These lives, so different from our own, were shaped by landscapes that demanded respect. The desert, the steppe, the vast open spaces where survival depended on skill, endurance, and community. Yet, across all the centuries, there is a strange familiarity. The need for shelter, the pull of friendship and loyalty, the long, slow journeys, the moments of rest under an endless sky. As you lie now in your own time and place, safe, warm, the air still, you can let these images fade. The camels settle for the night. The fires in the royal camp burn low. The Silk Road is quiet beneath the stars. The wind hums gently over the grasslands, carrying with it the memory of all who once walked there. And slowly, softly, you drift into sleep.